Hey everyone,
Hey, everybody.
welcome to Open Class. I believe it's 41. I was kind of hustling because I had this computer issue, but how are you, Michael?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I think it's 41. I think I goofed and I put like another 37 last week or something. I was like, I don't know. It's hard. Got to pay attention, I guess. Yeah, glad to be here.
All right, well, we have uh, four questions, I think, and the first one is kind of like one of those like success story in the making. So let's start with a really, really nice one to read. Let's jump in right away. Here it is, Google Docs. This is from Pat. We answered one or two questions from Pat in the past. Or let's read this one. I wanted to thank you and Coach Michael for answering my question on your YouTube channel. You have had such a positive impact on my sleep issues. I've been working with a therapist for
Awesome.
about 8 weeks with some improvement, but I have to say that until I found you and Martin Reed, I felt despondent and worried that my sleep would never return to normal. My therapist has been okay, but kind of textbook-like and rigid about implementing the CBTI techniques. I decided to take a break for a couple of weeks and let go of the sleep log. I felt as though the sleep log kept me thinking about my sleep too much. I really noticed an improvement in my sleep. I'm feeling better. Not sure how many hours I'm sleeping, but what matters to me is how I feel when I wake up. I remember you saying just that. I do not want to keep track of whether it's 5, 6, or 7 hours. Just want to feel rested and ready for the day. Last night, I had sort of an epiphany. I was in the bathtub and I realized that I can have a decent or good day despite not sleeping as much as I'd like. And what's important is that I enjoy my day and have several positive moments. I do not want my life to revolve around how many hours I slept. So I began to let go and not let this take over my life. I still have work to do and will continue to observe certain techniques until I feel I'm satisfied with my sleep, but I do not want to obsess about sleep. I have to come to realize that I know what's best for me and I have to honor that. Your book was a godsend. Oh, thank you. I say this always. When you like my book, please review it. That helps so much. I put it down when I got to the chapter about detoxing from sleep-related videos and online information. What a great idea. I'll finish it when I feel I'm ready to pick up again. The book is simply written and makes so much sense. It seems to me that overcoming insomnia really comes down to changing your thought patterns more than anything else, although certainly the CBTI techniques were very helpful. I just think there is not one size fits all approach, and people have to do what they think will work for them and not keep them thinking about sleep too much. That just creates roadblocks. Well, I've gone on and on, but I want to say thank you. And I think we will end there. It was just like a very, very nice smiley here in the end. So nice to hear, right, Michael?
Yeah, that's great. That's a great testimony and just some great points in there. Um, just like it's a change in thinking that really ultimately helps someone move past insomnia. That's what it really boils down to, and that could take a while. And it takes, like you said in the past, it takes courage. It takes self-kindness. It takes all of these other things to kind of make it work. And once a person gets to that point, they become just kind of indifferent to a short night of sleep. It becomes like not anything, obviously not anything to be concerned about. It doesn't occupy their thoughts during the day. They, don't mind being awake a little bit at night. Like this is kind of, it's the change in the way that you think about your sleep and you approach your sleep that leads you to this place of it not being a really big occupier of your thoughts while you're awake. Um, Simple things like it was Pat that was talking was, like taking a break from the sleep log, kind of that sleep detox idea. I think that can really help. If someone just feels like they're just going down the rabbit hole and they're doing all the right things, everything they've been reading or being told, and even things that we talk about, sometimes a person needs to just kind of pull back and just like, I don't know what you call it, like have a spa day, but, meaning like no thinking about sleep at all, good, bad, anything. You just leave it alone, put it away. You can get to it later, but just take a little break. I think that can go a long way for people. And I really encourage people to consider that if they feel they're kind of in that circumstance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think there's too much to say here apart from what you said, Coach Michael here, but exactly getting real practical here. If somebody tunes in here, what's, real practical things to take away from Pat here is exactly letting go of the sleep log, not knowing how much you slept. Great. And it's interesting, this epiphany. I've heard somebody else say, it was particularly Jim, who was a guest here on the show. He said that one day he also had the same epiphany, like, I can have a good day even if I don't sleep that much. Then why am I trying so hard? Like, why am I trying so hard for that?
Mhm.
Super important one. So Pat, thanks so much for sharing
Yep.
this.
Well done, Pat.
Always nice to have these like hopeful stories. So yeah, with that said, let's jump in. We have 3 other questions. So this wasn't really a question, this is just sharing, but we have 3 questions. One is from Simeon. Let's read this. Simeon says, I have not slept since 2018 proper, only a short nap in 2019 after being awake for 3 months. In October 19, 2015, January 1st, 2016, sometime around there, shortly after I turned 20 on October 19th, 2015, I had trouble getting to sleep the night after it happened, but it got worse and worse, and now I'm in pain constantly, and I haven't been able to fall asleep, and it's just like I'm in a living nightmare. This is from Simeon. Wow. Well, yeah. What are your thoughts when you hear this, Michael? What are your thoughts immediately?
Wow, that's pretty powerful statements. I think just I would encourage Simeon to just start kind of at the basics. Instead of reflecting back on the last few years, everything is like moving forward at this point, and start with really simple things. Just simple. Get some basic sleep education going, education about how insomnia happens and how it keeps itself going, and just look for just little things that you can do to kind of start moving in the right direction. And I think that was just my initial thought. Those are pretty strong statements, and it's not worth it's not helpful to to confront these statements or to look for absolute truths in them. It's just, I would just say, what, past is past. There's no harm in having poor sleep, short sleep. It doesn't cause any kind of condition. You're fine. It's moving forward. We want to just kind of start from today and just get a little bit of a game plan going forward, and education is really the starting point for that.
100%. And I want to say kind of say the same thing, but worded slightly different, which is one thing I learned from you, Michael, is that really focusing on the timeless night. I think that's often how you put it, and I've kind of sort of expanded on that to the timeless way, which includes not knowing what time it is overnight, not checking the clock, and also if your mind says it's this time, then just kind of doubt it. Be timeless overnight. But I think we should really expand that timeless way, not only for any individual night, but that timeless way. So often you hear people say, for me, it started 27 years ago. That means that this person has kept track for 27 years. And that is not helpful, because insomnia feeds off attention. So apply the timeless way backwards. Don't focus on how long it's been going on. And apply the timeless forward too. Don't try to project it's going to be this long or this long, it's this long. Just let go of time. It's a forward-moving process. Start now, start learning, like Coach Michael said. And I think that'll be a great place for you to start, Simeon. 100%.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool. Let's move forward here. And Simeon, any follow-up questions, let us know, of course. So this is from Filip, who's been asking some really great questions on the channel lately. Let's read this. Hi, Daniel, Michael. How are you? I'm making progress. I can sleep in pretty easily, and the night is timeless. Love it. Well done, Filip. In the middle of the night, I still always wake up with a kind of tension in my body, hyperarousal question mark. I try to befriend wakefulness, get out of bed until I get tired, watch a bit of relaxing TV, then go to bed again. So far, so good. But then I never get to sleep again for the rest of the night. Maybe I'm not quite sleepy enough and I'm just fatigued. And do I need to stay up a bit longer? Question mark. The pressure for going to sleep for a second time in the night is more sticky, because it'll be about the last chance you will get that night. If one cannot sleep the second time, do we need to get up again for a second time as well? Just a split second before I fall asleep, my mind wakes me up. I think you may have made a video on that subject. How do I settle with that? but I just cannot find it anymore. Does the insomnia mind see being awake as an enemy, or being asleep as an enemy? Thanks so much for this YouTube channel. I was on the edge of collapsing because I had the feeling nobody understood me. Thanks to your videos, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. Many greetings, Filip from Belgium. So in fairness, there, let me start commenting on this. So and by the way, there was a really this was actually, I think Filip just kind of copy pasted his a comment on the YouTube channel to our submission form, which, by the way, anyone out there who wants to submit a question to us, just head over to our website, thesleepcoachschool.com. You can also check out our self-coaching master program, and you can submit questions. There's a banner on top which says, if you have a question. But anyway, so I think Filip, he copy pasted his comment. There was a nice discussion about, like, when you have insomnia, is it that the brain sees being awake as kind of the threat, or being asleep as the threat? And Filip made the point that he's like, I thought that it was when the brain thinks that there's a problem, it's afraid of letting you sleep, which is true, but the fear is that the threat is wakefulness. So anyway, that became a nice discussion. But going over this one, so real practical here, Filip falls asleep a little bit easier, wakes up and tries to do something like watch TV, but doesn't really fall back asleep a second time, and that's sort of stressful. So what should you do? Well, I want to go this route to say that the reason you are actually falling asleep, and the reason that comes easier to you, is that you're trying less to sleep. You're more okay with, like, if you were really like, I gotta fall asleep this first time I go to bed, I gotta fall asleep now, it wouldn't happen. So the reason you fall asleep easier the first time is because you're more okay with, if I don't fall asleep, that's okay. And it's just more of the same. It is more of the same. It's like, apply that when you wake up too. Don't know what the time is, do something you like. And if sleep happens, great. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen that time. And you will see, like, when you just keep doing that, you will fall asleep that second time again.
Yeah, absolutely. That middle of the night wakefulness and quote unquote getting back to sleep. It's just like the start of the night. You can't control it. You have no control over this. You can do a million things to get in the way of letting sleep happen, but there's nothing you can do to naturally make yourself fall asleep or fall back to sleep. And you just have to remind yourself of that. That has to be just like if you want to think about sleep while you're awake, think about that. Remind yourself periodically, I'm not in control of this. I'm not. I can get in the way. I can leave all my lights on and loud noises going and turn the temperature super high or hot or cold. And I can get in the way, like with that kind of stuff, with thinking, trying real hard, doing like yoga poses, doing all kinds of things. You can get in the way. You can absolutely, there's a million ways to get in the way. There's no way to make sleep happen. So you just have to keep reminding yourself of that. It's just like, you have to talk to yourself a little bit, don't make people chase you around in white coats or whatever, but just like, you have to remind yourself, you have to just really understand. And that's where education comes in, really understanding the very, very completely passive nature of sleep. And when you learn that, and you really start to experience it, and that then it's like you get an aha moment. Some people get that single, like, oh, I get it now. Some people, it just sort of develops over time. But that is what happens with good sleepers, is they don't ever try in any way to get to sleep or back to sleep. And so if they're awake, they're awake. If they're not, they're not. If they're halfway awake and halfway not, it is what it is. And so the brake on the gas brake thing, however you want to describe it, it's it's allowing. That I use that word a lot. Allow sleep to happen. It doesn't mean it will, but you're doing what you can to get yourself out of the way.
Out of the way, exactly. And yeah, and Filip, last point here is just, there is actually a whole playlist on hypnic jerks and hypnic awareness, which is what you describe, where you're about to fall asleep and you just become aware that, oh, I was about to fall asleep, and that wakes you up. So you can check that out. It's in the description to any new videos. There's that playlist that you can check out for more. Let's see here. Neil is here.
Yeah,
hey,
it's a great comment.
The term fall asleep suggests that we have no control over sleep. There's a reason that we don't Jump to sleep.
I love that. I love that.
That is
It's
a
great.
good one.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because when you're falling, you are out of control, right? Think about like just, I don't know, you stand on the little something, a step stool, and you start falling. You are, for a moment, you're out of control. You have no control over it. Whatever happens is going to happen. So that's exactly like sleep. Neil, that's wonderful. I love that.
That is a good one. I'm gonna use that one. Thanks so much, Neil. You don't jump to sleep. Love it. Love that
Yeah.
one. Cool. Let's go on here with, I think there's one or maybe two questions left. I think there's only one actually, and it's from, here, Alexander, or Alex. Alex. Hi, Daniel. My name is Alex Martin, and I'm a medical student. I started getting insomnia 2 months ago, and my work has suffered in med school. I'm terrified that I will not be able to live up to the performance of a physician, and I will be saddled with insurmountable debt because of sleep. I know many people have a eureka moment when they decide that they can function without sleep and they will be okay, but the level of intensity that med school requires makes me scared I won't be able to add up. Any help is appreciated. Okay, 2 months ago. Yeah. I have some thoughts. I'll let you go. What are
Yeah.
your first
Oh, go ahead.
spontaneous
Actually,
thinking?
go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm really curious about how you could, you're a
Okay.
doctor, you talk about medical,
Oh, yeah,
med
yeah.
school.
No, my first thought was that, Alex shared here that he was in, I guess it's he, but it could be she too, Alex. But anyway, I'll say he, Alex is in medical school, and that tells you something about a person, if you're in medical school, that probably means that you are a fairly goal-oriented, organized a person that likes to have a certain amount of control over things, and that is, typical for somebody who has trouble sleeping. It is like, if the four things, I haven't talked about this so much lately, but the four things I always, historically at least, tended to talk about as like what predisposes you, what makes you more likely to have insomnia at some point is type A personality, being sort of like an overthinker, being health conscious, and being, having a tendency to worry too. Yeah. But yeah, so I think the first thing is just understanding this can be helpful, because you understand that, okay, there's nothing unusual with this. Actually, it's pretty typical for someone like myself to have trouble sleeping, and it comes from my personality to some degree, but that's not a problem. It's like there are millions and millions of people out there who are very high achieving, hardworking, type A personalities who sleep well, because their focus has just not shifted towards sleep, so that's the thing, Alex. There's nothing that keeps you from sleeping fantastic for the rest of your life. What's keeping you from doing that now is that you have kind of focused on sleep now, and you're wondering, how can I sleep more? How can I get better setup? Now, what I want to maybe spend some time here is what we call a secondary attachment. So when you have insomnia, you have an attachment to sleep, meaning you don't just like want to sleep because all people want to sleep well. That's just normal. But you have a desire for sleep now. You're wondering why you can't get it. You're hoping to get some more, etc. That is the primary attachment. Everybody with insomnia has that. If they didn't have that attachment, there wouldn't be anyone. But now you're adding like a secondary attachment. Not only do you want to sleep just for the sake of sleeping well, but now there's a secondary attachment. You want to sleep well so that you can make sure you finish med school. You want to sleep well so you can do the job of being a physician. And you can see that now there's like this additional level of pressure to sleep, which comes from, this secondary attachment. And it can be really tricky, to sleep well before you have kind of loosened up this secondary attachment. So the question, of course, becomes then, how can I do that? Well, you're already onto it. Like one way is kind of detective work, meaning like looking at, okay, this has happened for 2 months. And have I really done that poorly? Like, have I started failing exams? Are people asking me what's going on? Have I been kicked out of med school? Probably not. You're probably still in med school even 2 months later, which does tell you that you can function on a pretty high level, even if you slept very little. And of course, you're wondering about how long further can I do that? Well, I think you can do that for a very long time. I honestly think you can do that indefinitely. Not that I want that, but just to take the pressure off, meaning saying you can function on a very high level, even if you struggle from insomnia. It's that hyper arousal, that intense level of alertness and vigilance that you have actually, that keeps you very, very high functioning. But so you can do detective work and look at, okay, I have done well up to now, so I probably can do well going further. That reduces the pressure. But if that doesn't work for you, then it's almost more effective to go down the route of kind of like, okay, I'm gonna listen to these kind of worrisome thoughts from my brain that are keeping me up at night. My brain's telling me that if you don't sleep more, then you may not be able to function in med school, and you may have to take a break from med school. And then, you just, without any judgment or any particular intention, you just imagine that happening. Okay, I imagine now that I have to take a break from med school. I'm going to imagine that. I'm going to imagine telling the dean, like writing the letter, telling my parents, and just go there in your mind. Go to that place that you are so fearful of. And when you show the brain that I'm willing to think about this, I'm willing to imagine this thing that I'm so afraid of, that also removes so much pressure from sleep. So those are my immediate thoughts here. And Alex, this has happened for 2 months. You can still imagine a time where you slept well. Just learn a little bit, spend some time on the channel here. And I have no doubt that you'll do really well and become an excellent physician. The end.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I really totally agree. That kind of that predisposition to something. It's true with anything, not just sleep. It's some people are predisposed to one other type of health thing or another, or just anything in life. Really, people are predisposed. It doesn't mean it's going to be a problem that manifests. It doesn't mean it's something that can't be worked with. And I like the idea of kind of like daytime thought work. More than middle of the night thought work, because I think middle of the night thought work is, it's a different setting. It's like dark, you're alone, all this kind of stuff. It just, maybe you're thinking your prefrontal cortex. I've read stuff about that. You just might not be you might not be in your most rational state in the middle of the night. So just, during the day, maybe like at lunch, just write a few things down, talk to someone that you trust, and just kind of work some things through. You don't necessarily look for an answer, and don't even ask for an answer. Just talk to someone that can help you and kind of like confirm that, you're a pretty bright person. You're in medical school. You're helping people. You're going to be helping people for the rest of your life. What an amazing position to be in, and kind of look at it that way and focus on those other things in life that really matter. And sleep will kind of take care of itself. Like Coach Angel talks about the personal assistant, just turn it over. You got daytime stuff that is just unbelievable. It's going on. You're meeting amazing people. You're doing amazing things. During the day, write a couple of them down. Affirm to yourself, like, yeah, I had this really good meeting with this person, and we learned about, I don't know, renal function or something, whatever, and you're just like, it's an amazing thing. You're learning about an amazing thing. And there's other things in your life too, not just the whole medical school thing. So I like the daytime idea of the thought work.
Yeah, and I really like the idea you said here about, like, you have so much to do during the day that you don't really, you shouldn't, why are you trying to take on another thing, which is like taking control of your sleep? You have enough to do, delegate that. Exactly. Love that idea. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Neil, and so those are the questions. Alex, let me know if there's any follow-up questions. And Neil says, I think that insomnia is just a form of anxiety. Any anxiety causes obsession. Obsession brings the need to be in control, like in a loop. 100%. I believe that 100%. And I've heard this so many times from clients that I think I need to say this more often. Is like when people are like, oh, I realized it was just anxiety, or I realized it was all psychological. And I'm like, yeah, yes, it is. And I feel like I should have explained it better, but 100%, I think it's definitely from anxiety. That's all it is. Akshay says, being a little loaded can be a good thing. Actually, we don't have time to think about sleep. This may lead to sleep. It happened to me. Being a little, I think, like kind of overloaded, like having a lot of things to do, sometimes can help. It takes your attention away. It can be like a distraction for sure. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think that is it. And you're heading over to drop-in class with our students now,
yep.
Michael?
Got the member Zoom link ready to go.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah,
Well,
looking forward to it.
perfect. Well, I think we'll end. I want to end with this one actually. Where is it? Today's favorite. Everyone, we don't jump into sleep. We don't have control. We fall into sleep. Thank you, Neil.
Falling asleep. I love it. I love it.
All right.
All right, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.